financial goals.
You want more money? Turn what you know into that. Start hanging out with the people who have it. You create wealth on your own terms. It is not only your rights, but your duty to build wealth.
You are fiscally fabulous.
It's time to enjoy your legacy.
You're listening to Fiscally Fabulous with Dr. Teresa R. Martin, Esquire, a podcast that aims to provide you with the tools, guidance, and encouragement you need to build your wealth, enjoy your wealth, and leave a lasting legacy. Dr. Martin is an accomplished attorney, speaker, business consultant, and real estate strategist, an all-around self-made success who provides highly sought-after expert consulting in the creation, growth, and maintenance of generational wealth.
Well, welcome back to Fiscally Fabulous Podcast. This is the voice for legal, business, and real estate, where we turn financial literacy into financial legacy. I'm Dr. T, your host, and today we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most overlooked profit killers in real estate: failing to do a proper title search before you buy. You know what I'm talking about, right? So joining me today is on the front lines. He's been on the front lines doing property due diligence for over 30 years. Jess Barker, he's the CEO and founder of Title Search Direct. It's a nationwide title search firm trusted by investors, attorneys like myself, and lenders. So we're talking about how to protect your deals, avoid legal landmines, and build wealth with confidence. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump right on into it. So Jess, welcome to today's show. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing very well. I appreciate very much being on your program.
Thank you so much. Well, Jess, you've been in the title search space for decades, long before it became digital and on demand, right? So
Yeah.
How did you go from studying legal information systems at the University of Illinois to founding Title Search Direct? And why was the accessibility for small investors such a driving force for you?
Well, I started it while in graduate school. I was at University of Illinois, it was in Springfield, Illinois. They had an institute for legal studies, and that's where I had my assistantship. I was going through a master's program for legal studies. It was basically they teach you how the government works. And I was able to transition that into a business while I was still in graduate school, because I first started to notice that there was a tremendous demand for public record information. What I was doing as an assistant was researching issues for the professors. And that was one of the things that they were interested in a lot of things, but they were very interested in public record information. And after that, I noticed that real estate was a big field. And that's why I started doing it. I started out abstracting title in the local county near where I live. And I've been doing it since 1993, and we, over time, grew it into a nationwide firm.
Wow. And with that, and my head starts spinning, you taking me back to law school, legal research, and going through all of those documents and courthouses and records. Oh my goodness, I'm getting flashbacks. Yeah. But what gap did you see in how investors were doing title search back then?
How investors? Well, at the beginning, it was mostly for the big boys, because that's readily available, that i.e. being large title companies, banks, some attorneys. But what I started seeing it maybe around 15 years ago, just the trend that there are a lot of individual investors who are not privy to this information. And it's more than that. What we give, and there's data, but I think with our reports, we're giving people actionable title intelligence. Actionable because we provide the official record information from there are like 3,144 counties in the United States. And the big boys, before they invest or close, they're checking those official records. That's what determines whether or not they do it. Especially before, while they're just looking at stuff. And the problem with the individual investor is it's prohibitively high to get that done, because it most likely they're going to talk to a larger title company or somebody like that, and they've been cut out of this, or what I call institutional grade intelligence.
Right.
There are many good online portals, not for what I do, but they have for real estate investors information. There's like a company, I think it's called Property Radar. They have lots of great information. There are other ones, PropStream, where you can go online, but it's informational. They don't have the official record search at an affordable price, which is what's really key to have, to know before you make an offer. What does the title report show? It shows them, it verifies who owns the property. It also shows them what liens, if any, are against the property, but it needs to be at an affordable rate. And that's why it depends. Like in large metro areas, our reports start at like, say, $35, and they go up from there. Some are very expensive because they're very remote, and it's hard. You can't, it probably would take a week to get there. Our metro areas are like for a current owner search, which tells who owns the property and what liens are against it for the current owner. In a metro area, 1 to 2 business days. And most investors, like in the big boys or whatever, it's like a cone. At the top of the cone, they're still thinking generally, and then they narrow it down to a few properties, and then they do a search to make sure that there's not a problem, like a bunch of tax liens against the property, or if there's a unsure title, that kind of thing. They don't make a move without it. But the block, you see us as having democratized that for the small investor, which many, statistically, I think I was looking recently, there are about 1.29 million small investors in the United States.
Welcome to REIA NYC, where eager to learn entrepreneurs become wealthy and happy to teach investors. When life gives you lemons, draft a business plan. Call your girls and build an empire of lemon-inspired beverages. Because a real investor understands that in these times, you have to have more than one gig. It's not simply lemonade anymore, boss ladies. Nothing happens until you decide to change your life. But when you do, make more than just lemonade. Oh, and do it in great company. Call us today and build your empire.
There's probably more because they're not really classified, because a lot of times, it's the classification of how we classify ourselves, right? So some people would not, if I say, are you a real estate investor? No, they consider themselves property owners, right? Yeah. Property owners with multiple properties, they technically don't consider themselves or classify themselves as investors. So it's probably a lot more. They just don't classify themselves, right?
Yes. Well, I'm sure that's probably true, but one thing I looked at, they were looking at the statistics at the number of units, residential units in the United States, and that's how I think they assigned that number.
Got it.
There are like about 850,000 institutional investors, but there's still, which is good to see, most of them, I think it was like around 70% of the residential units are still owned in the United States, are owned by individual or small investors. It's the institutional that have the other. I guess they're involved like in shopping centers and bigger things, large apartment complexes, but there are a lot out there. But I see them as a herb.
The biggest thing for me is when you talk about intelligence, right, Jess? So let's demystify title intelligence. Like, let's break it down to its smallest component, because listeners out there, they may not know what all the intelligence includes, right? So for those who aren't familiar, what exactly does a title search reveal, and why should every person, agent, investor run a title search before making an offer?
Okay. Well, there are two or three basic parts. The first is the ownership information. You want to verify that there is a deed to the property showing that the person who purports to be the owner is in fact the owner, which most times they are. They're applying for a loan or wanting to get a house or something like that. It also shows that the property taxes are paid or unpaid. It also shows the assessed value, which sometimes people like that number. It will show what mortgages, if any, and liens. Now, these are all things that you will find at the Recorder of Deeds. There's no other online portal that has this that I know of for these individual investors. Okay, the other thing we do is we also search the county court itself, the civil court, for civil money judgments against the owner. They get that kind of thing. So the two things, in all 3,144 counties, they have a land records office. A lot of times it's called Recorder of Deeds. Sometimes in the Deep South it's called the Chancery Clerk, but it's a land records office. And each county has a civil court. Like everybody, it's just, that's how it is. You need to have a civil court if you want to take care of civil matters. We check there for the judgments. So yeah, knowing what's going on with the property and knowing if the owner have judgments against them. In some states it means more. In some states the judgments of the court mean less. For instance, in Missouri, if there is a judgment against you, it automatically attaches to the real estate, whether or not it's filed in the Recorder of Deeds. So that's why. But there are other states that are different. In Illinois, where I live, it doesn't automatically attach to the real estate. They have to file it in the land records office. But we check both anyway, the land records and the court records.
Wow. So, but in your experience, what are some of the most common title issues that you may uncover that investors or people never see coming? Like, what's some of those things that,
Well,
yeah.
Yes. We had quite a bit of interest in like Indiana. I think your company does work in Indiana as well. And there are a lot of opportunities. One town, I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's Allen County, Pennsylvania. It has a lot of, I'm trying to think of the name of that man that was I'm trying to think of the name of it. I can't think of the name of it. But there are a lot of good investment properties there, but sometimes you see problems with the title where it's unclear, like some people have transferred it and it's just not clear there's a potential cloud on the title. And some people that doesn't matter. They can take it to court, but very well, being an attorney, the cost of settling a quiet title is not, it's an area of law that's not bizarre, but you're talking expense there. And some people it doesn't matter. Some it does.
Right.
So that's one thing. Excessive liens. I remember doing a search and looked good for somebody in St. Louis, but there were like over $1 million in IRS liens against the property. Well, if you buy that, I'm not an attorney, but I think you're asking for trouble.
Because that's one of the things I was going to say, because looking at the title search, and I'll ask you the difference between pre-screening and a full closing title search. But I definitely want to make sure that I pinpoint this. When you're doing a title search and you're trying to close on property, or you purchased the property, you didn't clear it or whatever, that can really affect your ability to either close or resell the property if there's a lot of liens or a lot of easements, or you haven't picked up ownership disputes. Right? Because there's a lot of times where the easement, in New York, we have a lot of driveway easements, right? You're sharing driveways and things of that sort. But if you don't really know that this is an easement, you have these ownership disputes, you have a lot of things that you don't really pick up So that's why I always feel from a legal standpoint that you always should do a title search, and people don't do it, Jess, I'm sure, is because they think of the cost. But I'm just looking at this. I'm vetting this property. I'm not really going to close on this property. So I might not want to do a full title search or something like that. So I think that's pretty much what stops people in their tracks. And I'm saying, even in your vetting, I think you need to make sure that you're running these things, because you can't properly vet unless you know what's on that title or what's revealed in that title search. So with that said, let's just jump into, can you tell the listeners what's the difference between a pre-screening title report and a full title search?
The pre-screening is normally you're looking at the current owner only, and to see that they own it and what liens are against it, judgments from the recorder, whatever. Sometimes people will order a full title search before, because they'll see something on the pre-screening search that is like, oh, there's some liens or there's something going on here with the title, so they want more detail. And that's when you come into a thing where a full title search, each state has a statute that's set by the legislature that says how far back you go with the title. So this is the ownership chain to prove that it has been consistent. Like in Illinois, that number is 40 years. In Missouri, it's 45. And I believe there are other states like Kansas. The legislature has said 30. I don't know what the legislature in New York says, but they have my office manager knows. I don't know it off the top of my head, but we will always go back in terms of the chain of title back to that. And that's the same kind of thing that you would get at a closing. The other thing is with a full title search, and to compare it to the pre-screening search, you're only searching for, in the current owner, you're only searching the ownership for the current owner and the liens and judgments for the current owner. The full title search, the industry standard nationwide, is you do a complete search of the liens and judgments for the current owner and the prior owner at the civil court and the land records office, and the additional chain of title of who has owned it, like say in Illinois, going back 40 years. And that will satisfy, the legislature has said that, but it also, because of that, it satisfies the title insurance industry, because they're doing what the legislature.
Jade here hired an online freelancer to help her file her LLC. What she did not know was that she had to file her quarterly taxes, where to find her registered agent, or even why she needs one. If only someone had told her about the law offices of Teresa R. Martin, PC. Teresa and her team of exceptional quality professionals make it their business to establish great business. Let's schedule a call to make sure you are operating within the law. martinlegal.com.
I mean, that makes sense. So for those listening, this is your early warning system, right?
Yes.
It fix what you don't know. And Title Search Direct helps before you owe, right? So, and that's a hashtagable moment right there. I hope you catch it, right? So you really need to make sure that before you owe. So you definitely want to make sure that you run a title search so you really know what's out there.
Yes, and the pre-screening thing is that it's lower cost, but it does give you a good impression of the ownership for the current owner and the mortgages and liens. The full title search, which some people want before, not necessarily, but sometimes, additionally gives you the mortgages and liens for the prior owner and goes back a lot longer in terms of the chain of title to satisfy the legislative requirements and the requirements of the title insurance industry. They insure it. It's guaranteed. That's the whole business of the title insurance companies. I'm not in that. I'm not a title insurer, but I know that's what they're looking for.
Right.
And now, with the pre-screening is just that. It's not a guarantee, but it's actionable because there isn't, at that point in time, there isn't a higher, like in law, they have like primary sources, I think they call it. Yeah, it's the ultimate primary source. There isn't anything higher. It's just, otherwise, there'd be chaos. And everyone's agreed, these are the official records, and it's the way we've done it. We built it up over the years, and we've been fortunate with the internet where certain counties make it available where you don't have to go to the courthouse in certain counties, and you can get everything from the court and the recorder of deeds. So online.
Right.
But the other reason we were able to cover the whole country is that we've developed a human network, because there are many that you cannot get that information. And we have vendors that we've developed over the year that will go into any county that won't. And sometimes, even if it's online, there are problems and you still need someone to go in and verify. We had something the other day, it was something in Indiana, but it just happened to turn up. They wanted something, and there was some old mortgage that should have been released, but it wasn't, and it was combined with a quiet title thing. Anyway, we had to send someone in there there's no other way to unravel it. Someone to go in that knows what they're doing, look at the file, and make sure that this particular mortgage, which was supposed to be paid off anyway in 2011, but was made part of a quiet title action. So that it was ironclad that no problem for the title insurers. They made it insurable because they knew that.
And that just makes it real, right? Like,
Yep.
it's stories like this, what you just shared, that really makes it real. And that's where an investor would have saved themselves from a bad deal or turned a potential problem into a profit just because they did a title search up front, right?
Yes.
And the difference between what you offer, whereas it's technology, yes, plus you said you have the human component with all of the vendors that you have developed over the years, where if there's something that is kind of wonky out there, you can send someone into the courthouse and pull records and do the things that need to be done. And that's the difference between people relying on just an online search tool versus someone who uses Title Search Direct to be able to have both the technology and the human component. So that's great.
Well, it is. And again, there are a lot of investor online portals, and they'll give you most everything low cost, pre-screening search. And for those who want it, and some do, the full title search, both of them are at a big discount because we sell a lot to larger, guess who, the bigger boys, and they mark it up several times.
Got it. So basically, they can be buying something that they've gotten from you, but they now have a markup tied to it because they basically just slap their stuff onto it. So,
well, yeah, and you probably know, like from the closing statement, what is it? The average title search in New York, is it $250 or I don't know?
It ranges between $250 and $300.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty good markup.
Yeah. What's the fastest turnaround time that you've been able to turn around for an investor in a competitive market? They try to get multiple bids out there. They try to bid on some tax liens or what have you. What's the fastest turnaround that you've done for an investor?
I would say next business day for a metro area, say for instance, St. Louis, Missouri. I don't know, Manhattan has a pretty good system too. I forget the name of it. It's like the New York City Finance Department, I believe, manages it. And it's quite good system. So unless there's something, we don't do a lot of work in New York City, but we do some. And it seems to be very good. The system, it's next day if it's something like that.
So much has changed in the world, and reasons for legal counsel are many. With the law offices of Teresa R. Martin, PC, you walk in looking for solutions, but when you walk out with a growth mission and a support network. Get an attorney in real estate and business who knows and understands how to eliminate debt. Teresa has built an empire designed to grow businesses and strengthen communities. martinlegal.com.
Well, that's awesome. So now everyone hears. So if you're out there trying to go and bid for multiple properties, or you're trying to look at those tax liens and you need to know, what you should bid, how about reach out? Because REIA NYC, if you are a member of REIA NYC, you can use your discounted reports to help you screen deals at scale, right?
Yeah.
And so let's just jump into that, right? Because you're now a national REIA benefit provider,
Yeah.
which means that our REIA NYC members can access your reports at discount pricing, and that's even though it's already discounted. But what made you want to partner with REIAs nationwide to provide your services?
Well, they're the only organization that I'm aware of who has nationwide wherewithal to help small investors. They've got the networking capabilities. I've been to a couple of their conventions. A couple of years ago, I was out in Las Vegas, which was an experience. I hadn't been there in years, but they have clubs, if that's the right term, in all the major metro areas. But it's the networking they provide, the education they provide, lots of enthusiasm, it seems, for this. They seem to be responsive. And one of the persons I worked with, and he's very nice, he's from Kentucky, I believe, or maybe it's one of the Carolinas, Tim Abner. I don't know if you know him.
Yes, absolutely.
He's very nice.
And the thing with national is the biggest thing that I love about being a part of a national real estate investment organization is the fact that we're in New York. I serve New York investors, I serve New York property owners, but I also have clients who, while they may reside in New York, they're investing outside of New York. They're in Indiana, they're in Chicago, they're in North Carolina, they're in Tennessee. So they're in different places. You now, because you belong to a national organization, you now can tap into the resources and then cut your research in half, because you can reach out to people in those states, REIAs in those states. That's affiliated with National REIA, not just a meetup group, but affiliated with a national REIA to help you make sense of the information. And so that's why I love what you're doing. And for what you mentioned, the type of investor that I'm thinking, and correct me if I'm wrong, it serves, and when talking about the smaller investor, not the institutional, flippers, buy and hold, tax lien buyers, regular homeowners looking to get into their first-time home buyers. Everyone can benefit, right, from doing a title search to get into a property or invest in a property. Would you agree?
Oh, yes. And you mentioned tax lien buyers. That's one that they can definitely benefit from doing a current owner search, because they can see what else is going on besides unpaid taxes. Like, it might not be worth it. I believe IRS liens take precedence over everything. I don't know, but I'm just guessing.
Property taxes take precedence over. They usually, in most states, are first position over a mortgage. IRS, depending on the state, follows the person, not necessarily a property. But in some states, it may attach, right? So that's the difference. So IRS liens, yes, while important for the owners, it's not, from a tax lien standpoint, property taxes are the most important, because that's the one that comes before mortgages.
Yes. And that would definitely, it's pretty straightforward uncovering the property tax, but that comes with the current owner. The property tax situation, the assessed value, that's an important number to certain people. I don't know. I know lenders require it. I don't know how it goes into their calculation, but I know it's very important to them. And they'll have the mortgage and judgment liens from the recorder of deeds and the courthouse, civil court. They're not.
So all that makes sense, right? Absolutely. And I think the owner search, not to cut you off with that, but I just want to make sure that even though the IRS liens follow the owner,
yes,
and the property tax follows the property, remember if they're possibly private lenders, you might want to know what the owner has. If it's an IRS lien out there, that IRS lien is definitely going to be before you, right? For you lending and things of that sort.
Yes.
So it's a lot of reasons why lenders, look at title search for owner searches and things of that sort, because they need to know what's attached to this owner, right? For that. So, yeah. So, awesome. Now, another question before we go into our rapid fire. Do you offer any type of training or resources that help people interpret reports? I know everybody's not legal. Everybody might not understand how to read a title report. Do you offer any trainings or resources to help people interpret reports or searches?
Well, one thing we have on the homepage is a sample report, so they can look at that, and then if they have questions, yes, they can call. We have an 800 number that they can call. We have email that they can email the question to. We also have an AI agent that we put on recently that was trained somehow, I didn't do it, but to answer certain questions.
Okay.
But most likely talking to someone in our office, we're available either by phone or email.
Awesome. And that's exactly why I love what you're doing, Jess, because you're making professional level due diligence affordable for small investors who are serious about doing it right. Right? There's a lot of people out there who just dibbling and dabbling, trying to do real estate investing or read a book or went to a seminar, but you are really helping make title due diligence really affordable for those people who want to do it right. So I do want to thank you just for understanding the need, filling in that gap, and just making it available for smaller investors to be able to do their due diligence to get the property.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we like to do before we wrap up is we like to do something called the rapid fire. And what we do is the first thing that comes to mind is what blurt out, right? So what is starting with the first rapid fire question, what would be the first myth, the biggest myth about title searches that you know?
Many sites.
A myth that people think about a title search that is not true.
Well, many people hawk quote unquote instant title search. There's no such thing as there is, but it's not actionable. You're going to have like third party database information. It's a difference between data and actionable intelligence. So there is, it's instant, but you're not, it's not, again, the big boys, fine, but they're going to do it right with the official records.
Got it.
And they want it, but there is no instant title search.
And what would be one red flag that would or should make an investor, like what things would pop up on the title search that, in your opinion, would be a red flag that they should, if not stop, just pause immediately to do further research?
Excessive liens or an unclear title chain where there's a potential cloud on the title.
Awesome. And lastly, what is one piece of advice that, you would have for investors stepping into real estate?
I would say trust yourself that you can do this. You know what you want, and this is part of it. And a lot of your listeners, the small investors, they're used to doing a lot of stuff themselves, and they just need to believe in themselves that they can do this. They're handling their families and their children, and they're alive, and this is a way to level the playing field, to democratize the access to this type of information.
Love it. This has just been great. But where can listeners connect with you or order their first title search direct report?
Well, our website is www.titlesearchdirect.com.
Well, that's quite simple.
Yeah.
So you heard it. Titlesearchdirect.com. So yes, this is great. This has been powerful. I always say wealth loves preparation, right? And title intelligence is one of the smartest forms of preparation that you can make, right? And so for my Fiscally Fabulous community, if you are ready to stop gambling with your deals, I want you to take a moment and go to titlesearchdirect.com and get your next property pre-screened before you buy. And if you are a REIA NYC member, make sure you take advantage of your exclusive National REIA discount, another perk for being part of our core and elite membership. So I want to make sure that you get the right information at the right time, and you are definitely with the right alliance. So Jess, thank you again for joining us. For our listeners, remember, financial freedom starts with financial clarity. Until next time, stay fabulous and stay ready.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity for being on your program.
Thank you so much. And always, you're always welcome back. If there's something out there, please come back and join us and give us the update.
Oh, of course. Thank you very much. I hope you have a good day.
Thank you.
This has been Fiscally Fabulous with Dr. Teresa R. Martin, Esquire. If you would like to learn more on how you can build generational wealth and leave a lasting legacy, go to www.enjoyyourlegacy.com and be sure to subscribe. Thank you for listening. Until next time.